What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Payne. Welcome back to another Street Fighter Duel video. Alright guys, before I continue on with this video, I want to quickly say tomorrow 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to be having a one-on-one sit-down with Dino from Crunchyroll Games, and we're going to drill him with questions. We're going to have a one-on-one 1 hour session with me and him. I'm going to ask him all the tough questions I can possibly think of in order to see the future and the direction of this game and some of the problems we're currently having and see if he can give us some answers. At the same time, I'm dedicating a whole hour to you guys as well as viewers to jump on where my mods will take the best 20 plus questions we can within the hour and answer them as best as we possibly can with him. Now, to be fair to him, there are some things he can and cannot say, obviously. So we're going to be respectful. We're going to be, what my community is, and that is going to have a lot of integrity for this interview. And we want to make sure that we don't, scare him away. But we do want answers, and hopefully tomorrow we'll get quite a few. But that's not what we're here for, guys. I'm here to talk about team building advanced version. All right, so I did a team building 101 when the first game launched, right? Like it was a fairly successful video. A lot of people still use it, and I feel like it's time to do a little bit of an update on it and go through some more things that are going to be a lot more viable for you as you reach closer to end game content, being about 37ish to 41, which is currently end game, right? Now, 3924, if you haven't seen it, I did a video on it. There are 4 teams. Eventually, you're going to need to build 2, 3, 4, 5 teams at some point, right? So you're going to need to know how to build these correctly and how to tackle them. So I'm going to do a quick lineups based on the opponents that I'm facing, explain why I set it up the way I did, and then I'm going to talk to you guys how to tackle different teams that you're going to face in PvE specifically, okay? These also apply to PvP, but PvP there's a meta usually, so there's really not much change going on. But for PvE, there's always going to be a drastic change based on the towers or based on actual content you play. Okay, so first thing to note, the whole Bison strat is going to end. As soon as you need to do 2 teams, Bison is no longer going to be able to carry you. You're going to have a secondary tank or someone that can soak damage. So the first thing I'm going to suggest for you guys to do is build 1 of 3 tanks. Zangief, E Honda, and Abel. Those 3 tanks are going to have to be mandatory for you. As a matter of fact, as you get to stage 37, 38, 39, you're going to need to build a second and a third tank anyway. So those 3 tanks are who you want to focus on in terms of putting them on your team as your primary damage soaker. So tanks are going to have to be mandatory eventually, guys. So don't neglect them. So the order I would go is Zangief, E Honda, and Abel. Okay, those are the 3, and that's the hierarchy there, okay? So here you can see here I'm actually fighting a Honda. Zangief is going to be the one here to do most of the damage soaking. The reason why I use Zangief here against the Honda is eventually when you get a 6-card passive, he actually removes other people's passives by doing his C2, right? And also if he gets hit 16 times, he also does his C2 automatically, removing E Honda's passive. So anyone who's in front, for example, E Honda has Desperation. When he hits 30%, right, HP, Desperation pops, he heals himself, plus he's immune to all damage. But if you take that passive away, E Honda dies quickly. He's really not much of a threat. So Zangief is the number 1 tank. Now, as an assist for Zangief, to keep him alive longer, you can do one of 2 things. You can use Abel as your shield, because he provides the teammate a shield that he's assisted to, or you can put E Honda up there if you're not using him for your second man team, right? And soak in 8% damage and damage share that across the board. Now, that's going to be different as you get to 4 or 5 teams because you're going to need Abel and E Honda, right? But for now, that's what I would suggest. Now, secondary, you can see right here in the middle, he's got Guy. Now, Guy's purpose is to take out a unit like Viper. That's what he does. He's an assassin, very much similar to Viper, and his goal is to take her out. If you have someone like Gen in here with mirror image that's going to sit back here, Guy actually ends up hitting the mirror image rather than Viper. So it's important to understand that concept, right? If you don't have Gen as a mirror image, you put another heavy damage dealing unit here, or even a power unit such as, let's say, MH Ken, or balance unit, say MH Ken or Bizang, and then here you want to put someone like Flame Blanca, right? Fashion Blanca. Because Fashion Blanca is a tank, and Guy hitting Fashion Blanca would be ideal because Fashion Blanca is a tank and it has a ton of defense and is going to not even affect him at all in any way, shape, or form. So that's a very important thing to note, is when you're fighting a CP that has an NPC that has a lot more power than you, note that the assassins will target the furthest target in the back. That's not a tag unit. So the mirror image from Gen will take that damage for that unit. But if you don't have Gen, then put in a tankier unit in the 3rd slot in order to soak damage for you so you don't die. Now, the reason why you want an assassin here even furthermore is because of this unit right there, Dalsim. Dalsim is going to be the biggest damage dealing unit in this fight. Most likely we'll start with the special, doing an AoE across the board, and that's why Zangief is so important here as well. He does damage reduction for all elemental damage by 25%, so he'll soak a lot of that damage, but he'll also give these guys the protection against flame, and he'll also do Yoga Flame as a C3, most likely, because there's no other C3 here, right? Except for Honda, but Honda barely ever does that. So you want to have someone like Viper here with Gen, so Gen soaks the damage from Guy. She destroys the back unit as soon as possible. The moment he's gone, this team is no longer a threat. Now for Viper, ideally, you want somebody that's going to give her more crit, so Chun-Li would actually be a better option than Mad Ryu, but I put Mad Ryu up there in case she does go below a certain threshold of health, then she'll do 20% more damage, right? So another good option up here would be a Dawn for Hatred Mark, which means she'll do more damage with anyone who has Hatred Mark. But again, you want to focus on the back target as soon as possible, especially when it's someone like Dalsim who does AoE. So this is a conceptual idea that you can work with in order to destroy, number one, tanks who have a lot of survivability with your own tank, dealing with assassins. So Viper could be here as well too, and you could still have the same concept here, where she would hit the mirror image rather than your third unit, or dealing with an AoE damage dealer in the back, having an assassin to take them out. Of course, Elena is here for simply purpose of giving max HP to C Viper for more survivability because she has the highest attack. With her base, she also does healing and does attack up with her FS30. So this here will be an ideal team to go with. What you can change here at any time, like I mentioned to you before, is Gen being removed and replaced by a tankier unit. This here being replaced by Fashion Blanca, who is also a tank and sits in third position. And this here you can change into having yourself someone like Street Poison who can boost your damage because you've removed two assassins, right? Or one assassin, I should say, and your power dealing unit here. So by having S Viper here, sorry, not S Viper, Street Poison, you can boost your crit damage, your attack, and your pressure on the more tanky units, making them hit harder and making them more viable for DPS. Okay, so those are other options for you. Let's move on to the second team. All right, this team has Abel, Jury, DeCapre, and Cammy. So this team's really a massive single target damage dealing unit. When you see something like this, the only real like C3 here that's going to affect you is going to be Jury's, but her C3 is so limited in range that it's still going to hit the main target first. So this is where Bison will excel. Having yourself a Bison where there's all single target units who don't hit the back range is going to make your life easier because they're going to constantly hit him. He's going to constantly do Infernal King and explode, causing AoE damage to everybody here and buffing all of your units. Now in a team like this where it's all single target damage, you want to have two different things. Number one, AoE. So AoE is area of effect, or cleave as some people call it in games. And cleave effects are exactly that. AoE teams that just all they do is AoE damage. So in this case, you can see here the combo, Fashion Blanca, if he does get caught with the C3 here, he will survive because he's a tank. He will have the buffs from Rose, so you can always see a support sitting in tag. Fashion Blanca will be, his specials are all flame related. So he has Flame Carpet here from Dalsim for boost of damage, and he has Fei Long on Bison. Now the assist on Fei Long on Bison is important because Fei Long loses the assist ability of increasing flame damage if the unit dies. Bison won't die till the end, so he's the ultimate carrier for Fei Long flame damage. This is all geared towards giving Flame Blanca as much damage as possible with AoE flame unit, right? Her goal is increase speed, increase crit, increase damage, and do some off healing if needed. Excuse me. Vega is here for another reason. Vega is here to do quick bleeds, to just happens a little bit of extra damage with burns, and his 6-car passive will have AoE hurricanes coming in when everybody does damage. That's the only reason he's here, guys. If he wasn't here, I would have been using C3 from Bison instead and destroying people using Psycho Crusher. So both of these are valid. This is a test unit, to be honest. He doesn't even need to be here. He's just here for fun, for testing. But with someone like Flame Blanca, ideally what you want to do on a team like this is actually put someone else in that can push him to the back. So if you remove Vega, for example, right? Let's put in someone else like, let's say a Dawn for fun. Oh, sorry, not a Dawn. I need a balance unit. Let's put a balance unit with power here. So let's say a Bizang. Okay, let's just put Bizang in here for a sec, right? Let's just use him as an example here. So let's go Bizang. Okay, put Bizang here. put Rose in the back. So you see here, that puts Flame Blanca in the back now, gives him more survivability, and gives you additional speed. Now, that's something I want to point out at the end. I'll explain to you guys after how speed works and why it's so important. Now, this way, guys, you have enough units here to do stuns, all AoE practically, and everybody gets affected by the flame damage that Blanca does. And no one here does flame damage, so there won't be any defense bonuses for Blanca, but that's okay. Your whole goal is to essentially kill everybody. And again, Rose is in the tag section like every support should be in order to provide you guys some buffs that you need throughout the fight. Okay, moving on to Team 3. Let's look at this one. So this here is going to be an AoE assassin team. And their main goal is going to be to burn you as quick as possible, okay? No pun intended with that, by the way. Let's take away the filters and put all again and talk about this team. So right here we have, I'm going to put Guile actually in here. Guile in here, sorry. And Decapre we're going to remove. Cammy sits there. Combat Guile could be up here, but let's do a Dawn here, okay? So this team is very similar to the last. Now, what you need in this team instead is, because they're kind of speedy with Chun-Li, is actually put in a unit that's fast. So I'm going to have to remove Cammy and I'll put Vega. Vega has 160 speed. That is the fastest base speed in the game, period. Zhang only has more speed because he has a passive 3, skill 3, that gives him 50 more. His speed is 19 more than him, but nobody else matches Vega for speed. So when you see characters like Chun-Li, that isn't the Zhang there, you need a character to match speed, and Vega would be the best one to put in there. So Vega's there for one reason and one reason only, for speed. MH Ken is there as a bruiser. His job is to summon Cammy as much as possible as an assist in order to trigger her to do her armor break and to take out the front unit quickly. Guile is there for complete DPS. Adon is assisting him with Hatred Mark, so not only is he going to do more damage with Saber, which ignores defense as it is, but with Hatred Mark, he's actually doing an additional 15% more damage on the target that has it, which will be the front target here. But his AoE Sonic Boom will hit both of these guys. We'll take out Chun-Li because she's going to be the main damage dealer besides Viper here. And his Saber will stack, and his flash kicks here. So let's move this. So how the combo is going to look. It's going to look like this. There. No, we're going to go. Yeah, actually that's perfect. And there. Perfect. There you go. So his flash kicks are going to cause explosions, hitting all the AoE units and not taking away Saber at FS30. Her role specifically is to keep everybody alive. Fashion Chun-Li, or Fashion Sakura, sorry, Fashion Chun-Li. Fashion Sakura is here to cause Sakura Rain, which will keep everybody healed and reduce damage on all units based on that. So her goal is literally that, just do a little bit of damage and keep everybody alive. But there you have it. So you have, again, an AoE unit here who does insane damage, a speed unit to match the speed here, because Zhang is only one unit you can use once at a time. You're going to have to use other fast units, and then MH Ken to be a bruiser, to cause knockback, and to do Dragon Curse Rage. Okay, so this is another team here, and you can see like the ebb and flow, right? Everyone's very similar. We have a tanky unit in the front, right? And MH Ken is not a tank, but he's tanky because his ultimate also gives him special. So you can actually switch this if you want to do single target and do Ken. You can do this, and Sonic Boom, right? Or a Flash Kick, sorry, Saber Kick. That also works really well. Now in this case, it'll actually give Ken more survivability, giving you an off tank that can actually take damage and deliver damage as well. Plus he has Dragon Curse Rage, which will buff your units and debuff the opponents by quite a bit, giving you 12 seconds of freedom to destroy them. Vega again is there for speed and his Hurricanes with a 6-car passive, and he can do some bleeds. And then here is your main damage dealer with AoE damage, and this is your survivability. Again, the assist is Armor Break and Hatred Mark for more damage. Okay, that's Team 4. Team 5. Now here's Honda. His goal is simply to damage her. So I start off with him as a combo. Chun-Li is here for speed. You want to be the first one to attack. That way you get the advantage, right? So she's the third fastest character in the game, I believe. Hugo's here on him for specifically Potato, just to heal him in case he needs it, right? Jury's here for single target and AoE target, so you want to take Zangief out as soon as you possibly can, and then focus on these two back here. Her C3 is going to be the main effect. And then Street Poison's here only for the purpose of buffing me. So buffing with C1. So it would actually go like this, guys. Here, here, and here. Okay? So you want that damage share, especially with Honda, because this team will do a lot of AoE with these two units, and you want him to soak as much of this damage from these guys as you can so they can continue delivering damage on their behalf. Now, Guy is here because the moment you kill somebody with Jury, she gets his crit bonus, his attack, and other stats that he provides, okay? So when you're building teams, guys, the structure is straightforward. You're going to have to get away from Bison teams eventually. tank or off tank here in the front with the ability to survive. A fast unit really in the middle, so you can outspeed your opponent and go first, or somebody with an interrupt. Okay, so again, Zangief, etc. Right? Find someone with an interrupt. Excuse me. Your main damage dealer usually in third position with the assist on top, the tank with the assist on top as well. Okay, you want survivability and damage right here, and you always want your support unit in the back. There's 4 incredibly good supports. 3 of them are non pay to win. Fashion Sakura is the only pay to win. The only other support I could really think of you could use in the slot realistically at endgame, honestly, would be Fei Long as a support, but no, he's better as an assist. So you might be a little bit stuck in this section and you might need to use a damage dealer instead, or a secondary tank in case your main tank dies. Alright guys, so that's kind of the concept behind building teams. If you have any questions, feel free to do so. Remember, I built these based on the assumption that some of these guys are going to be FS30 with 6-car vehicles and they're triple S. Most of you will go that route. If you're a beginner, go back and check out the 101 video. That might help you a little more. And keep in mind, guys, eventually factions and stuff won't matter quite as much because you're going to have no choice but to use the best units you possibly have. All right, guys. This is the team building video I wanted to do for Endgame. If you guys have any questions or comments, let me know in the comments section. I would love to answer any of your questions as usual. And hopefully, I'll see you guys tomorrow for the live interview with the CR rep. Talk to you guys later. Take care.